Like, you're playing the team's hand. You're bluffing who's going to pull the trigger first. And it's also the same with Saquon Barkley with the Giants. Like, is he going to hold out for week one as well? I just think that it's a bunch of nonsense just to start the offseason that they just want to see who's going to pull the trigger first.
Okay, which player do you think is more likely to hold out week one of the NFL season? Saquon Barkley or Josh Jacobs?
I think that Josh Jacobs is more likely just because of the team he's on.
Because he thinks he has more leverage with the Raiders?
Yeah, I think that he knows that they need him more than Saquon's a great running back, but the Giants are more equipped to playing without him than I think that the Raiders are without Jacobs.
By the way, for all those that are watching on TikTok Live, YouTube, Twitch, and Kick, get your questions and comments. Actually, I think the New York Jets are going to be in the cameras to a certain extent, and yet, as you know, Adam, he'll find a way to still make it onto the air just enough to make sure we see his pretty face enough. Adam, would you like to see the New York Jets on Hard Knocks this August?
No, I just want off this ride. I don't want anything to do with them anymore. I like Hard Knocks. Now they got to have the Jets and Aaron Rodgers front and center, and you hit the nail on the head. Trust me. He will find the camera.
He is like the contestant on The Bachelor who's like, I'm really shy, and is actually making out with the person in like 2 episodes. So anyways, with that said, I did want to put this out there to the two of you. This is just a bit of a game. First, we're going to say, okay, if you could pick any team across the NFL, because technically you can't do this. The NFL has parameters for which team is allowed to be on Hard Knocks, or which team, unfortunately, is selected, because a lot of teams actually don't want to be on it. But if you guys could pick any team from this year's selection of teams to be on Hard Knocks, who would you want to have? I will start. I'll go first to give you guys just a second. I actually would love to see the Miami Dolphins. Their head coach is hilarious. He is the most down-to-earth bro that I've ever heard in my life. He's a riot. I think it'd be interesting to be around Tua because there's the anxiety. That's its own little dramatic storyline. You'd have Jalen Ramsey coming in. So I actually think the Miami Dolphins, again, they're not eligible, but I think they would have made a great Hard Knocks team. Again, Jets I actually think we're number one, but we're saying outside of the Jets. Adam, who would you go with? Michael, you're on deck.
That's a pretty good one. Miami would be a pretty good one. There's 2 that just jumped to mind right away. One would be Baltimore, to see what that looks like.
Okay.
The internal workings with Lamar Jackson and all that.
Odell Beckham Jr. too?
Yep, Beckham Jr. too. And the other one I would think would be interesting would actually be the Chargers, because Brandon Staley obviously is going to be kind of under fire here a little bit. He's got all the tools, got the new offensive coordinator coming over there. There's a lot going on there, and there are a lot of high expectations. So I'd like to see the Chargers. I think could be interesting one as well. But I think Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, and Harbaugh, that internal dynamic would be really interesting to see.
If it had been the Chargers, it would have been all about the pressure on the head coach and you got to win and the job on the line. I don't think Hard Knocks would have enjoyed that. They wouldn't have gotten a lot of access with him building up that storyline. Drew7382 here on TikTok Live says he'd like to see the Dallas Cowboys. I'm pretty sure half of America would love to see that, and the other half of America would hate to see that. So
yeah, I'm with the latter. On that.
Well, we know you're coming from Wisconsin. But that said, I also think the Dallas Cowboys would be interesting, only because for this reason. I actually think Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, the Jones family, it continues to build. I mean, this is every single season, all of their legacies get that much closer to a cliff. And so I am kind of interested by the drama of it. That said, I'm perfectly fine keeping my Dallas Cowboys content to a minimum over the summer. Not going to hate on that. Michael, where do you come out? What's a team that you'd like to see?
Yeah, I really do like the Dolphins as a pick that you said. I was going to pick them, but at the same time, I'm shocked how none of you said the Washington Commanders. As a fan of the Commanders, obviously I don't want more of a dumpster fire to be visible to everyone across the nation. But at the same time, they are eligible. They didn't get picked, which I'm kind of happy as a fan of Washington. But at the same time, the storylines write themselves for Hard Knock. Hard Knocks. Like, you got Dan Snyder selling the team.
Well, I think by then the team would be sold too, so it'd be kind of interesting to get like a new owner literally stepping into the building right as the cameras roll.
Yeah, and then you got the hype around the fandom. Like, you can see the new life going to be injected into the fans.
Yep.
Like, everything that you want in Hard Knocks is what Washington Commanders are right now. And part of me as a fan, I'm happy that we didn't get like, but at the same time, it would be great quality TV.
I think the reason I fade the Washington Commanders, because I'm with you. I love the storyline of, first of all, I think Ron Rivera is actually a better soundbite and is better on camera than people think. He comes across as kind of stoic, but actually he can give a fiery soundbite, and he's actually he's pretty good content when you get him right. And I think the ownership would make for a really interesting dynamic. I actually think the reason that the Commanders aren't a good selection, and the Bears would have been even, better, still runner-up to the Jets, but better, it's about quarterback. Like, what moves the needle? And the Commanders, like, a QB battle between Howell and Jacoby Brissett, like, yeah, get your popcorn ready for that one, America. Like, that should be a battle.
I get that, but at the same time, you do love the underdog story as well. America loves that. So at the same time...
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, so, like, I get that Aaron Rodgers, yes, he's going to move the needle. He's going to make a lot of people tune into Hard Knocks. But at the same time, you do have these other stories that are developing in Washington as well that I think could be better than the Jets. Because to me, other than the Jets and their young team and then Aaron Rodgers, there's not much.
See, I disagree with you because I think Sauce Gardner is an episode in and of himself. Like, I think Sauce Gardner is the next Deion Sanders in not just talent, but personality. Again, like Darrelle Revis. And I could watch that for 30 minutes out of an hour-long show.
Yeah, true. I mean, he is a character. I get that.
Robert Saleh, I think, will be boring. I'm hoping that he's like a little bit more entertaining, but I get this. I suspect that he's going to be like, yeah, great. Like, he has a really compelling story. They're going to talk about 9/11. They're going to talk about his connections to New York that date back to the early 2000s. They're going to talk about his career in coaching. But a couple comments here on TikTok Live that I wanted to bring up. Jake, how do we feel about the Lions? First of all, there was some talk about potentially bringing the Lions back for a second year of Hard Knocks. I wouldn't have hated that, but then again, we could just turn that into an annual event, because at this point, I could watch Dan Campbell do anything. Like, I could watch Dan Campbell rip phone books, so at this point, I'm all about it. Another comment we got on TikTok Live is from Kingpin 24832. Seahawks would be interesting. I agree. Pete Carroll, and again, a team with a lot of young talent, but I don't think Geno Smith, I don't need to see more of him on Hard Knocks, that's for sure. So anyways, if you guys have some picks, I did have one more thing I wanted to get to. I know we always get to a lot in our show, but I had one more thing for us to go around the room about Adam and Michael, and that is, if you could go back in time and you could do a Hard Knocks for the preseason of any NFL team in the past. And I thought about this because I thought back to the first Hard Knocks was the 2000 Ravens, which I still think is the best one. I still think it sets the standard as some of the best sports content that's ever been put on film. But that said, if you could go back in time, and there were a couple that I had, I'll let you guys think of a few, because I'm sure it's not just one, but a couple of Hard Knocks that I wish we could have gone back to. I would have loved to have seen the 2001 Patriots, where it's still Drew Bledsoe's team, but there's this kid, Tom Brady, who's like getting some more reps, and it would have been that kind of like before, the origin story. I felt the same way about the 1999 St. Louis Rams, where again, it's Trent Green's team. The whole Hard Knocks would have been about Trent Green and how this offense is going to explode. And then there's like, oh yeah, there's Kurt Warner in the background, like Kurt Warner getting some extra reps. I would have loved to have seen that. And the last one would have been the 85 Bears, because enough personalities to literally have a sitcom about it. So those were the three that immediately came to mind. No, I did not take the 2007 Patriots. I know a few of you probably expected that from me. But no, I opted out for a Patriots team that ended up winning a Super Bowl. We'll start with you, Michael, on this one. If you could go back in time and have a Hard Knocks for a team, which one would you like to have the camera slip into the locker room for?
I mean, I might be cheating a little bit, but I'll go with Don Shula's 72 Dolphins.
Oh, that's a good one.
Be the team. I mean, you got 2,000-yard rushers with Larry Zonka, and I'm blanking on the other one, but you got those
Mercury
players. You got Mercury. You got Greasy as the quarterback as well. Like you don't. So I just think that would have been great TV, especially in South Florida in the 70s.
Yeah, and especially getting Shula like practice on tape and Shula film study on tape. That would have been amazing. Yep. Adam, we turned it to you.
Just off the top of my head, a couple I think would be cool would have been the Greatest Show on Turf, that 99 Rams season with Kurt Warner and that both offense that they had. I think that would have been cool to see the internal workings of that offense.
Yep.
And how they diagram football plays. I think the early 90s Packers, like when Favre got there.
Yep.
Those first couple years were pretty tumultuous with them trying to rein him in.
Oh, you wouldn't have taken a Super Bowl year. You would have taken a year in which they actually didn't perform to the level. Interesting.
I would have taken the years when Favre first got to Green Bay in the early 90s because those first couple of years were pretty intriguing with him and the stories that had come out about his wild side. So I thought that would have been pretty interesting too. And then, to come off of that Ravens defense that following year, that Buccaneers team with Gruden beating the Raiders, that defense, that whole scenario where he went from Oakland to Tampa Bay and all that too. I think that would have been interesting to see how that season progressed along as well with Gruden and that defense.
Oh, that's a good call. A lot of personalities on that one too. That would have been a really fun one. Going to
Warren Sapp in that defense.
John Lynch, you get Warren Sapp, like you have Derek Brooks, exactly. Yep. You got Rondé Barber, and by the way, on offense it's Keyshawn Johnson and Mike Allstott. Like, no, you're absolutely right. That would have been a really fun team to follow. By the way, is Tony Dungy still the defensive coordinator for that team, or is he gone by then?
I'll look at that, but I think he might have been gone by then.
The whole point is that would have been that's a great call by you. IP Shade 45. Yes, the Jets right now are rumored to be on this year's Hard Knocks. That's what got us into this conversation. We were talking about maybe what are some of the other teams in history that we wish we could have seen the Hard Knocks for that team, just kind of going around the room to start off our show. Appreciate all of those being with us for tonight's weekly NFL show. And as we do every week, we actually go through the entire NFL schedule, 1 week of the schedule every week. Each show gets its own week. And that way we're actually going to go game by game, pick by pick, and build a consensus around the matchups that we think are ultimately going to produce the wins and losses that will deliver the future bets that you guys should consider. So we'll jump into our first slate of games. The way we're going to do it is the same as what we did last week, or the last show that we had, is we're going to start with the games that were earliest in the schedule, and then we're going to work our way through the week. So we'll start with the Thursday game, then we'll work our way through the 1 p.m. games, the Sunday 4 p.m. games, obviously the Sunday night and the Monday night games. And again, this week we will be focusing on Week 4, everyone. Week 4 of the NFL schedule. That one kicks off with one I know Adam very much has on his mind, which is the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. This one is in Green Bay. As we have the first 3 weeks playing out, these two teams are both 2-1, so this is a very important game within the division. Adam, we'll start with you since this is your account in Green Bay. Where do you feel like this game's going to ultimately fall out?
So for this game, real quick Packer news today too. The Packers signed Lucas Van Ness today. So out of their 13 draft choices, they only have 2 unsigned. The 2 second-round picks of Musgrave and Michaels. Jaden Reed from Michigan State still hasn't signed yet, but that's good for them to get just about everyone in-house. But for this game, on this Thursday night, Detroit comes to town, and this has got the perfect Jordan Love win this game that Aaron Rodgers couldn't, and a little bit of a revenge factor in this game. So I do like Green Bay at home in this one. Detroit is a -1.5. But the other thing to this one that I look at is the next 2 games for Detroit are Carolina and at Tampa Bay. So if Detroit comes to Green Bay and wins, that's going to put them with Carolina, Tampa up next. That's going to put them at 5-1 to start the season. I just can't see Detroit being 5-1 to start the season. I know they're lovable Lions, and everyone's going to be on them to start the year because of how they finished up last year. But for that reason, I can't see Detroit going 5-1, and I see this being the Jordan Love got the win over Detroit that Aaron Rodgers couldn't game.
Interesting, Michael. Do you agree with Adam that Green Bay is going to win this game?
See, to me, this game was really a toss-up for me. I could see either team winning. I think it would be very close. the only factor of why I am picking Green Bay to win is because it's in Green Bay. I know they're both playing Thursday Night Football on short rest.
Yeah.
But the only deciding factor to me is that Detroit has to go to Green Bay to play.
I think that's probably where I come out as well. The only problem is the way that we've had the season play out so far, I think we're being too favorable to the Packers. You guys both know I'm not nearly as high on the Packers as you are, and I don't want to say that I'm high on the Lions. I think the country is a bit higher on the Lions than they should be. We need to bring it a little bit closer down to reality. But that said, I like the Lions more than I like the Packers, and I don't think a Thursday game. The Lions are at home the previous week, so, okay, a trip from Detroit to Green Bay, that's not going across the country. That shouldn't be too dramatic, and it's not like they have a game prior to that is too grueling. They're playing the Falcons. I expect them to win that at home. I actually think that the Saints game the previous week is going to be the tougher game for the Packers, so it's a toss-up for me. I am willing to kind of go with the consensus of the two of you. I think, Michael, I lean with you being right on this in that it is a coin flip of a game, in which I probably wouldn't touch a spread because I could see either team winning. I'm actually hoping maybe that the Lions are a favorite and then taking like the Packers on a cover play at some point. But for me, I can kind of see both teams winning this one. It really comes down to health. Who's got the early injury that's devastating? Is Jahmyr Gibbs actually healthy? Does he have an early season injury? Is he not as effective? Is Jordan Love? We're going to find out very soon, early in the season, if Jordan Love is worth loving or if he's worth dumping very quickly. So I will, on our big board up on the screen as we keep track of every single game every single week, we will give the Lions the loss, the Packers the win. That does move the Packers to 3-1, moves the Lions to 4-1 or to 2-2 rather. Don't necessarily think that means that the Packers finish ahead of the Lions, but at least for the sake of this week, they are. We will move now to the next game on our schedule. Guys, by the way, if you have questions or comments, throw them in the comments section. We are here for all of it. So Jorge, I see your question about Christian McCaffrey over 6.5 touchdowns, as well as Lamar Jackson over 23.5 passing touchdowns. We'll talk about a little bit more about that once we get to the two teams that those players are on. But let's get to the next game in the 1 p.m. window. This one will be played overseas, so it is an early game, a 9:30 game, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Atlanta Falcons. Yes, the colors on our screen might be a little bit hard to see, but that is what the matchup is, the Atlanta Falcons battling the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville is the team of London, supposedly. They are a more talented team and certainly more used to these conditions. So I will kick this one off with what is most likely an obvious consensus play across the board. I'm taking Jacksonville to win this one and to keep up their winning streak. Believe it or not, this would make them 4-0 heading into a massive game against the Bills. We will start with you, Michael. Do you think that Jacksonville is a win here?
Yeah, I do think Jacksonville is a win, and I get that both teams are traveling overseas, but Jacksonville gets to be a little bit more relaxed because they get to stay overseas for the next week as well. So I do think Jacksonville could take this win.
Adam, kick it off.
Yeah, Jacksonville is going to come off what we think will be easy home win against Houston the week before. Atlanta's going to be at Detroit, which I believe we had them as a loss. So that's going to be a tough game to play at Detroit and fly to London and play Jacksonville. So I think Jacksonville is a consensus here. They are a -4 right now on the Vegas spread. But you mentioned it, that look-ahead game to Buffalo. That's always something to be watch out for. And playing across the pond, anything can kind of happen here. But I do like Jacksonville in this game.
I like that the game against Buffalo is also overseas. So it is a look-ahead game. But I actually like the fact that it's not one in which you're actually back-to-back home games in Jacksonville. I think that's where you can kind of maybe take it easy on the Falcons. I think by going to London that week, it kind of forces you have to focus. You're going out of your environment. So I actually think it might be good for Jacksonville. That said, I do think this is an easy win. As Jake said on TikTok Live, yeah, Jags aren't losing that game. I completely agree with you. By the way, Drew, absolutely, I do want to say some very sad news in the NFL as Ryan Mallett has passed, some tragic news. So, Drew, pointing that out in the comment section for all of those who are wondering why he wrote that. Yes, Ryan Mallett did pass away, so absolutely a very sad day across the NFL. To the comments that Jorge is making, did you hear about the Dolphins and Chiefs game selling out in 15 minutes? Yes, not surprised by that. The NFL, they understand when they go into a new market what they have waiting for them. They are not making losing bets. The NFL is making way too much money this over year to make losing bets when they decide to make that kind of expansion. So not surprised by it. And they were smart enough to put two premier teams, Dolphins and Chiefs, in that game. Let's move on now, since we have already covered two of the first two games of Week 4, the Thursday night game and the Sunday morning game in London. The first 1 p.m. game that we're going to cover is a very important AFC East game between the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are a 3-point favorite in this one. Adam, we'll start with you. Do you like the Buffaloes to hold home court against the Miami Dolphins?
Yeah, this is going to be a really tough division matchup, but I do like Buffalo at home. And the reason I do like Buffalo at home is because the week before, they'll have an easier game against Washington, where Miami, albeit at home, will be playing Denver. And I think that Denver game is going to be a tough physical matchup for them. So having to hold off Denver and then go to Buffalo, I think is going to be a tall order to task. Right now, Buffalo's sitting at a -3.5. I don't want the hook on this game. I could very easily see this being a 2017 type football game, 24-21 type football game. But I do like Buffalo at home just because I think Miami does have the tougher matchup the week prior.
I agree with you. I like Buffalo in this game for reasons that you say as well. Not to knock Michael's team, but I do think coming off that game against the Commanders, I think Buffalo will be ready to beat down the Dolphins just like they did in the playoffs last year. Michael, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I take Buffalo in this with everything you said. I know it's tough when I say it's going to be an easy game against Washington, so it's not going to hinder their chances of beating Miami, but I just don't see Miami winning this. I think it is actually going to be a shootout if everyone's healthy on both sides.
I really hope it is, because I would love to see those two offenses. I'd like to see this game almost be like the Vikings-Bills game from last year that had that amazing catch by Justin Jefferson. I would love to see that kind of explosive offensive game, one we didn't get in the playoffs last year, both because of the weather and because of the quarterback situation. We move now to the next 1 p.m. game, which is the Carolina Panthers, who we have 0-3. Bryce Young still looking for his first win of the year, going up against the Minnesota Vikings. We have the Vikings 2-1 entering this game, and I'll kick this one off because I'm making a very bold prediction, everybody. I'm saying the Carolina Panthers win this game. I'm putting it out there now. I think the Bryce Young gets his... I actually think he might win earlier than this, but according to how we've played out the first 3 weeks, I have Bryce Young winning this game. I think Kirk Cousins goes into Carolina and lays an egg. I think the defense of the Panthers is better than people think. And if Bryce Young does get off to a bit of a slow start, this would be the time in the season he starts to build some chemistry. Things start to slow down a little bit for him, get a little bit easier. So I think that the Carolina Panthers pull off the upset in this one. What do you think, Adam?
I agree with you. I have a little hesitation towards it because Carolina does have to come back across the country after playing out in Seattle. But I think Carolina gets their first win here. Minnesota is going to be at home the week prior against the Chargers, and I think we had them getting that win, and that's going to be a pretty big win. But going on the road, Bryce Young, I think, can get a signature win here at home, his first win at home against that awful Minnesota defense. So for those reasons alone, I do like Carolina. Just a little hesitation because of the travel from Seattle.
Keep note, just the spread that's on this game. Vikings are only a 1.5 point favorite.
1.5.
Yeah, it tells you that Vegas is a little bit nervous because they actually are thinking the way we are, which is Carolina could pull off the upset. Michael, do you think Adam and I are crazy?
I wouldn't say you guys are crazy. I'll lean more towards Minnesota because you do have 1 p.m. Kirk Cousins against a rookie that has to find himself. So I do tend to lean with a Kirk Cousins in this role. But I don't think you guys are that far-fetched.
So that said, because this is how we fill out the schedule, is through the consensus with myself and Adam giving Carolina the win, the nod. We will give the win to Carolina, but I am going to put this asterisk here if you're watching on our screen, if you're watching on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, or Kick. That way, you can tell there was a split decision on this one that maybe we'll want to revisit when we get closer to the actual date, certainly when we get closer to the actual season. But for now, we have Bryce Young earning his first win as an NFL quarterback, going up against Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. So, interesting upset for all of you to be aware of. Maybe something you want to even look at that spread now might be advantageous. Now, that said, let's look at the Denver Broncos going up against the Chicago Bears. According to how we have the season playing out, Denver is starting 2-1, so Russell Wilson shedding some of that bad history that he had last year. Meanwhile, we have the Bears at 1-2, coming off what should be a pretty obvious loss on the road to Kansas City. Michael, we'll start with you on this one. Do you think the Bears bounce back, or do you think it's Denver that ultimately gets this win and advances to 3-1?
I actually like Denver in this game. I know that might be a little crazy how they're going to come to Chicago and beat the Bears, but at the same time, if Denver is going to continue winning, that means it's a result of Russell Wilson's play. And if his play is going to be, 2-3 years ago type level, I think that this can easily be a Denver win.
Adam, what are your thoughts?
So for me in this game, I actually like Chicago. Denver sits right now at the -1.5. You mentioned it, Chicago. We have coming off a loss to Kansas City. We talked about it briefly, about Denver playing Miami at Miami and losing that one. But we had Denver starting out 2-0. And I think everyone's going to be riding a high momentum. But I think this is a game where they have a really tough loss in Miami, and then they're going to come back and play a Chicago team. And it's kind of like one of these in-between, two road games, kind of trap-type games. And Denver's going to be kind of questioning themselves at this point. So I actually like Chicago in this game, catching points at home.
This is a really tough one for me. I'm really split on this. I want to say Chicago, in part because I don't like the travel Denver has to go through. They go to Miami, then you would assume they're coming back to Denver, then they're to Chicago. That's just a lot of travel. And I also think that Miami game, that's one in which I feel like Russell Wilson's going to get beat up. I feel like that's a game, not just physically, but I think the ego's going to get bruised. To your point, Adam, I feel like Denver's going to be riding high in the first 2 weeks, beating Vegas, beating Washington, getting off to a start that'll have ESPN and Fox Sports kind of buzzing about them, and then they'll get brought back down to earth against the Miami Dolphins, a good Dolphins defense, a Vic Fangio defense like we talked about that's going to want some revenge, Bradley Chubb. And then I also think that Russell Wilson, we're going to find out if he's going to put all that behind him, and I just don't think he will. I kind of like the Bears in this one. I think they pull off the win. I know that, once again, we have a split consensus on this. We're going to give the W to the Bears because it's a 2v1, but again, one will probably want to revisit, health being, again, a massive factor. And I'm also really curious to see what Justin Fields is, because if Justin Fields, if he duels with Patrick Mahomes the previous week, we're going to be buzzing about him. I actually think he'll use that confidence coming back home. We have him losing the only home game he will have had so far in that Week 1 opener against the Packers. I think he plays better at Soldier Field than he does elsewhere, whether it's because it forces him to run more or not. I like the Bears in this one, so that's where we're going to go with it. Michael, do you have any kind of follow-up thoughts on this, given that we are splitting the decision? Any reason that we should think otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, it is Justin Fields at quarterback. It is also what have you done for me lately league. I'm not sold on Justin Fields as a passing quarterback yet, and if this game does turn to the passing game, I do like Russell Wilson a little bit more than I do like Justin Fields. Okay.
Good closing argument. Just wanted to give you that chance for a rebuttal before we move on. The next game we're going to focus on, really interesting where the spread is set for this. The Baltimore Ravens traveling to Cleveland to play the Browns. No love lost between these two franchises. This is a 1-point spread in favor of Cleveland. Cleveland is the favorite in this game. So really curious to know, Michael, we'll start with you. Do you think Cleveland deserves to be the favorite, and do you have them winning?
Of course, I think that Cleveland deserves to be favored because it is at home. But at the same time, if Lamar Jackson is who he is, I think that with Baltimore's revamped offense at the wide receiver core, I think that Baltimore can come in and take this game. I'm still not really sold on Cleveland's defense.
Yeah, I'm. By the way, I'm completely with you on Cleveland's defense. We know what Myles Garrett is, but outside of him, I guess Denzel Ward. Like, I really don't know what else we're working with there that's supposed to impress me. Like, Michael, can you think of any other? Is there anyone on the defense else I should be thinking about?
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm not sold on them whatsoever.
Yeah.
You had everyone was talking so much about Clowney and Garrett together, but what did that really do? It didn't do anything for their defense. And when Garrett did get his sacks, when he did put his handprints on the game, the secondary just blew it for them. So I don't really think that the Cleveland defense is anything special.
I think there are so many times we hear of a pairing of like a pass rusher that's dominant, that's with a team already, like a Myles Garrett. And then, oh yeah, we're going to add this other pass rusher from this other team, either because of a trade or because he was just made available because he got cut. And all of a sudden, we're going to have like Reggie White and Jerome Brown, and it's just going to be such a dynamic duo. When does that actually come to fruition? Like, when does that actually turn into like the nightmare that it's advertised to be? Okay, Aaron Donald, Von Miller, maybe. Like, that could be an example of one. But for the most part, I feel like one of those players is usually over the hill, and so it really doesn't turn into, it's like, 1.5 compared to the 2 that you expect it to be. But just a thought on that. Adam, where do you come out on this game between the Ravens and the Browns?
I agree with you on the Cleveland's defense. It's definitely a suspect. Both teams the week before should come off of easy wins. Cleveland had Tennessee and Baltimore had Indy. Cleveland's heading into a bye week on this one, and Cleveland is a -1 in this game, and I think these are two teams that could very much mirror each other towards the middle of the season of what they look like. So for this one, I'm going to actually give the home team the edge here and give Cleveland the win, and they'll send both teams at 2-2, and Cleveland heading into the bye week.
Oh, very interesting. Okay, I guess that leaves me as the split decision here, the one who will ultimately put it out. I'm going to go with Baltimore. I think Baltimore, they're going to be coming off a win against the Colts that at home that I don't think is going to be hard. I think they're going to cruise in that game. I think they're going to be... I also think that Baltimore has a big game against the Steelers the following week in Pittsburgh. And I don't think that makes it a look-ahead game. I think it makes it really important for them to win this Week 4 game. I don't think as highly of Cleveland. I'm still waiting on them. They'll be coming off a win against Tennessee at home. Maybe the best thing that we can say about it is they'll have back-to-back home games and they have the bye week to follow. But if I've got to go in any direction on this, I'm going to take Baltimore. Again, we'll put that asterisk on it to let you guys know that we're on a split decision on this one. But I lean towards Baltimore. I just feel like Baltimore's got the better team. I feel like defensively, offensively, they've got the better coaching. They've got the better quarterback. They're not coming off of a trying win. It's not like they've got a crazy travel schedule. Their only loss would have been in the division against the Bengals, which makes it that much more important to claim a division win. It's just too much logic, probably. It probably says the sportsbook would lean towards betting on the Browns, and I'll probably wait to see where the spread ultimately comes out. But that's the decision I'll make. Adam, I'll let you fire back. Any reason you want to make a final kick argument on the Baltimore Ravens losing?
No, I think the Baltimore look-ahead game is a good point. I know you don't think it's a deterrent, but I'm a firm believer on some of that. But I think because of the way the season started out, I just see these two teams being, other than Cleveland's defense, being the weakest of the four sides of the football. I think Baltimore might be the better team on defense, but I think this team has a lot of similarities with each other. And like I said, that easy win against Indy the week before, Cleveland should have come off an easy win against Tennessee as well, and at home. So I'm just giving them the home field advantage here and thinking this is where Cleveland can get a win here.
So in our estimation, those are a few of the more interesting games in the 1 p.m. window. We are going to do a rip and run here on the next few games because a number of these are, if not consensus builders, one in which I wouldn't expect the same level of drama that we might get in a Browns-Ravens game, because that actually could have plenty of drama. So we'll start with the Steelers and Houston Texans. We'll be quick about it. I'm taking the Steelers, even though they're on the road. I'm really impressed with the roster that they have. I think they're building something there. We have them coming off a loss on the road in Vegas. I don't think they lose back-to-back. I think Tomlin snaps this team's focus right back into center. Michael, we start with you. Do you agree, Steelers?
Yeah, 100%. I don't see them losing this game.
Adam?
Yep, same here. And the spread right now is sitting at a -3.5. Just FYI.
And with that, actually probably like the Steelers to cover, but you know Bud Fumble Sports, turn that 3.5 into 2.5 and be on the better side of a field goal. Next one we're going to talk about is the Rams at the Colts. Matthew Stafford going up against Anthony Richardson, the ultimate passing quarterback against the ultimate versatile quarterback. Adam, we'll start with you on this one. Do you think I believe the Rams will win this game? Just to give you a place to start, do you agree with me, or do you think the Colts pull off the win?
Well, you should know better by now how I feel about the Rams this year. Okay, this team is garbage. I'm telling you right now. The over/under set at 7.5 it's atrocious from Vegas. Right now, if we did our year picks, I have the Rams at 4-13 right now. This team, you're coming off a quarterback injured, the best wide receiver injured. They traded Jalen Ramsey. They lost both their linebackers in Wagner and Leonard. They lost both their safeties. This team has just been desimited.
They want Caleb Williams. They want the number one pick. They want the USC product going to LA. I totally get that. But do you genuinely believe that the Indianapolis Colts are going to win this game?
I do, because I think this Rams team is as bad as Arizona and Tampa, and I think Indianapolis at home could be a tough place to play sometimes. And this might be the time where the ball kind of gets rolling in Indy for a little bit of hype. So yeah.
So you're taking Jonathan Taylor against Aaron Donald, is what you're telling me?
Yeah, I think Indianapolis is going to help their young quarterback with their running game, and because of, like I just said, all the losses on defense that the Rams had this year. And that's a good point. You're going to go in Indianapolis, where Indianapolis is going to have a really powerful running game and protect their young quarterback. And on the other side of the ball, I just don't think Stafford is going to have a comeback year. I just don't see it. And the quarterback position is so important in this league. I think he makes errors. Indianapolis is just a ball control football game, and I think Indianapolis gets to win here. And Rams are a 1-point favorite too, by the way.
Michael, you got to come down on a decision. What's your pick?
Yeah, I really do like everything that Adam was saying. I also agree with him to an extent. Like, if Matthew Stafford, he's coming back from a big injury, and if he does get injured, who's the backup quarterback? We're going to go with Stetson Bennett.
Yes, we are going with Stetson Bennett. I don't know why you're giving so much shade to Stetson Bennett. I'm not saying I'm a huge fan, but, that's a better backup option than a lot of other quarterbacks out there, is it not?
I don't know, but he was in a great system at Georgia with a great team around him. That's the thing, is that the Rams don't have a great team around him. As Adam also said, Cooper Kupp's the only great wide receiver. He's
the only wide receiver I know that they have. I literally don't know their second wide receiver.
They have Van Jefferson and
right, and Allen Robinson.
Yeah, but other than no, Robinson I believe is on Pittsburgh.
Oh, jeez.
But the thing is, with you said Aaron Donald against Jonathan Taylor. I'm going to go with as well. I'm going to go Aaron Donald against Ryan Kelly, Quentin Nelson. I'm going to take that Colts offensive line to help Jonathan Taylor, to help Anthony Richardson better than anyone else on the Rams defense not named Aaron Donald.
And is this not the perfect, you're 4 weeks into the season, you're at home against this Rams defense. Is this not the time that Richardson may have a game where it's the wow factor, now they know why he was.
This would make the Colts 2-2. Everyone, I'm just putting it out there. This would make the Colts 2-2. So, by the way, and it would make the Rams 0-4. So, by the way, I'm more than happy to be wrong. I just got put in my place by our two NFL analysts. Adam and Michael just said, "Hey, Wyatt, Butt Fumble Sports, go take a seat." Okay, that's totally fine. I'm just making sure you guys are aware of what we're putting on the board here. That makes the Colts 2-2 and the Rams 0-4. Just making sure, folks. Just making sure.
100%. And this is the thing too. This will also be a Sean McVay season to see is he actually that offensive genius that everyone.
Oh, this is the Bill Belichick without Tom Brady year, which is I actually thought Bill Belichick equipped himself pretty well. We'll find out about Sean McVay. I agree with that.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying is that I don't think. I mean, I'm not going to say he's not a genius, but at the same time, with that offense, he needs to be the next Houdini and everything else.
And the thing is too, we have him 2-2, but look at the other team we have him beating, Houston. So it's not like we have him beating Kansas City. We have him beating Houston and then at home against the Rams. So 2-2 for the Colts right now. I could very easily see that happening.
Okay. I like the optimism that you have for Indianapolis Colts fans. I know those Hoosiers love their football, and they'd love to see Anthony Richardson get off to a 2-2 start. We're going to keep this rip and run going with what it will probably be the most obvious game to pick of the week, which is the New Orleans Saints against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Can we just all come to a quick consensus? Saints on this one, folks?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was looking for. I wasn't looking for a lot of analysis. I was looking for just the verbal nod to say, yes, we are all on board that we think Derek Carr bounces back from a loss in Green Bay and that Tampa Bay continues its march towards potentially the number one overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. The next game I want to get into, we won't rip and run on this one because I know Michael will throw on the brakes, but it's Washington against Philadelphia. I'm not saying Washington can't beat Philadelphia. I won't say that. Some people will say that, but I won't say that. What I will say is, in Philadelphia, I don't think so. If this game were in Washington, I'd feel differently, but I do think Philly wins this game. Michael, this is your account. Does Washington give us a probability on them pulling off the upset?
10%.
That's the kind of optimism you can only find from a true Washington football team fan.
Well, here's the thing: is that I look forward to the games that you have against Chicago and Atlanta, and those games to me are a lot more winnable than this Philadelphia game in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Also, you said that you wanted me to halt the brakes on this game. I would have been easily fine with you just telling me win or loss, and I would have given you that off, right? Easy, right there and then, because I really don't think that Washington's going to win this game in Philadelphia. Philadelphia still is going to have that grudge on losing the Super Bowl that I think they're going to come out with.
I think we were saying, didn't the Washington Commanders upset the Eagles on Monday night last year?
Yeah.
Was it Monday night or whatever night that was to end the undefeated season, right?
That, to me, that was a different game because we knew who Philadelphia were at the time, and they were looking forward to the next games. This is early in the season where I don't think Philadelphia is going to be looking ahead.
Oh, no, I agree. I mean, Philadelphia isn't going to let that happen 2 seasons in a row. As in, Philadelphia is going to be like, hey, guys, remember the Alamo and bring the wood.
And to me, this game is going to tell me a lot about Sam Howell, how he's going to fare against the division rival in Philadelphia against that defense. Because Washington, don't get me wrong, they have a good offense. We have a great young wide receiving core. We have good running back tandem, and we have a shit offensive line. I almost said good. I backtracked. We don't have a good offensive line, but at the same time, this is going to be a Sam Howell game. I want to see what he's made of. Win or loss, I don't care. I just want to see.
The reason I'm with you on that is because, to me, it is like a Taylor Heineke game in which I don't care if you win or lose. I want to see the fight. I want to see what you have. And it may not be enough talent to beat Jalen Hurts, but if you have enough fight and you have enough of the talent that can be developed, a loss, I know we'll never say a loss is as good as a win, but a loss can feel like a road to eventual wins, and in that way, I totally agree with you.
Like, I can see this game easily, Washington's defense holding Jalen Hurts for first 2 quarters, but other than that, I see the floodgates opening in the second half.
Adam, what are your thoughts on this one?
I agree with Michael on that last statement. I think this game could be a tough division matchup for the first half, and then Philadelphia pulls away in the second half. Tampa Bay gets Philly at home the week prior, so that should be an easy win for Philly.
Yep.
Obviously, we talk about Washington at home against Buffalo, which could be a tough game. But the interesting thing to me is the spread in this game. They have Philly sitting right now at -7. And I love this at -7 because I think by the time this game rolls around, this game could be 8, 9, maybe even 10 in some spots, depending how Philly does scoring-wise in the first couple of games. Obviously, we have Philly rolling here early part of the season, but if Philly's doing what they do last year, 30, 40 points in those first couple of games, and Washington's struggling, this line can inflate very quickly. So I think -7 right now is probably really good value at Philly at this point.
Oh, good value on Philly. That I agree with. Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought you were going to say, no, I agree with you there. Take Philly at the 7, because do I feel like this is a 10-point, 13-point final score? Kind of to Michael's points, which is I could see fight in the first half. And then I could see Philadelphia coming out of the locker room being like, all right, boys, like, let's put it to them, and breaking away. Maybe A.J. Brown having one of those big halves in which he gets like 2 touchdowns on 2 deep passes. I could see that going down, so I'm with you.
I also wouldn't be shocked if it's a touchdown game with like a minute to go and then Washington just turns it over.
Right, like a bad beat on like a pick six or like a fumble that's returned. Absolutely.
With Washington.
Especially in this kind of game. I totally agree with you in which, like, it looks like it's going to be a backdoor cover, and then, oh yeah, Washington, like, miraculously gets the ball back only to throw, like, a pick six. Like, I can totally see it happening.
Yeah, and my soul gets crushed in that second.
Wow, when your soul's already crushed, like, you know, it doesn't have much farther to go. So, Michael, you're almost to rock bottom, but don't worry. Dan Snyder's days are almost over. That said, we do need to move on away from Washington because there's only so much misery we can put into our weekly NFL show. We have a quota. The Cincinnati Bengals is the next game we're going to focus on. They're going up against the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans, everybody, we have as one of the dogs of the NFL. We have them as 0-3 going into this game. And again, this was intended to be a rip-and-run kind of play. I do feel like this is a bit of a trap game for the Cincinnati Bengals, more because there's such an assumption over a win against Tennessee and it's on the road. However, the following week's against Arizona, so it's not a trap game in that it's a look ahead. It's just a trap game because maybe Tennessee shows some more fight. But off of sheer logic, I'm taking the Bengals to win. I'll start with you, Adam. Are we in an early consensus on this?
Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati has a set of 3 games here. Last week against the Rams, this week against Arizona, and like you mentioned, Tennessee next week against Arizona. They're just rolling through this 3-game part of the schedule here. The line is -4.5. So it is a little bit lower, but it is a road game. Given Tennessee 3 points at home, there puts them around 7.5 there. So I don't care for the line, but I think Cincinnati does get the win here.
Interesting, Michael.
Yeah, short and sweet. Cincinnati with the win.
Thank you so much, Michael. We appreciate that. Okay, we move now to the 4 p.m. window. There are 3 4 p.m. games, and we start with a divisional battle between the Chargers and the Las Vegas Raiders. We have the Raiders 1-2 getting their first win of the year against the Pittsburgh Steelers in a game that, again, we had as kind of a controversial one. It wasn't an obvious slam dunk play for us, but a Sunday night game, the John Madden game, we're expecting that the Raiders win that. So then they go on the road to L.A. against the Chargers. Meanwhile, the L.A. Chargers, they're coming off their their second loss according to us. So that makes this game even more pivotal. I'll have the Chargers winning this to get them back to 2-2. Again, the pressure is on Brandon Staley every single week. If he falls to 1-3, the axe gets that much closer to his neck. So for that reason, I do think that the team responds, gets a win, and gets to 2-2. Michael, we start with you. Chargers get the dub?
Yeah, I think so. And you do also have to look at Vegas's just what's happening with Josh Jacobs. If he is going to hold out for the foreseeable future, and it is going to take him some time, you got to look back into the Pittsburgh game, but you don't know. Obviously, you can't really predict. But at the same time, if he is holding out, he is going to take some time to get back to the NFL leading rusher, Josh Jacobs. So I do think that the Chargers will come and win this game.
Adam, do we have a complete consensus?
Yeah, I can't see the Chargers heading into the bye week 1-3. And I know we had the asterisk for the Raiders at 1-2, but they very easily could be 0-3 at this point. So coming off a tough loss that we had, the Chargers at Minnesota, I think they get to 2-2 heading into the bye week.
Want to give a big shout out to all of our viewers across all of our platforms. Jacob Potter, thank you for the football. To all of those that are watching, Drew, Jorge, Jake, all of those that are watching on YouTube, great to have you watching the show with us. The next game we're going to get into is one that, if you're a hater, turn away, because this is the ultimate hater dome. It is the Super Bowl of haters. It is the New England Patriots against the Dallas Cowboys, everybody. Get ready for ESPN to be licking its chops. It's not like it used to be with Tony Romo and Tom Brady, but I assure you, Mac Jones and Dak Prescott, Bill Belichick and Mike McCarthy, Robert Kraft and Jerry Jones, there's plenty of drama for all to go around throughout this week. So get ready, everybody, to just be bombarded with NFL outlets, media outlets giving you Patriots and Cowboys. I'll kick this one off. The Dallas Cowboys are 3-0 going into this game and then have a matchup against the 49ers on the road to follow. Meanwhile, the New England Patriots, according to us, we have them 1-2 coming off a loss to the Jets. Now, are the Dallas Cowboys the more talented team? Probably. They're certainly the more talented offense. However, this is a classic case where I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I'm going to look towards one place for the advantage. It's Bill Belichick against Mike McCarthy, and there's no Aaron Rodgers to save Mike McCarthy. I'm taking the Patriots. Normally, I'm not this favorable towards the Patriots. I usually have my doubts about them, but I actually think that the Patriots defense plays one of its better games of the year. Remember, last year, the Cowboys won in a very dramatic overtime game against the New England Patriots up in Foxborough. I think the Patriots get their revenge in this one. I actually think the Patriots win. Michael, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like your optimism with the Patriots winning. The thing is with me also is that it pains me to give Dallas another victory and have them 4-0. But when I look at the rosters, as you said, Dallas is just a lot more talented. You have CeeDee Lamb, Cooks, Gallup, Tony Pollard. If he's healthy, he's going to be a mismatch in the backfield. You're transitioning Michael Parsons to a full-time rusher on the defense. I just think everything stacked up with the Cowboys is overmatched with the Patriots. And I am curious to see how rookie Christian Gonzalez is going to be.
Oh, he's going to be a stud. Don't you worry, Michael. Christian Gonzalez is going to be a stud.
I'm not worried about it. I'm anticipating, I am waiting to see how he's going to match up against his receivers. And that's what I want to see in week 4. Is he going to be a little bit too raw, or is he going to be where everyone thinks he is?
I think he actually won't be as exposed in this game as he will be in some others, because I think they'll put Jonathan Jones on CeeDee Lamb, and I think he'll be then, well, unless it then makes it curious what they do with Brandon Cooks. But I actually think he could get like the Michael Gallup matchup because Belichick usually likes to do that. Put like the number 1 wide receiver with a lesser corner but safety help. So I will be kind of curious to see how they play this one. Adam, we got a split decision. We need some consensus. Are you taking the Pats? Are you taking the Cowboys?
God, as disgusting as this is.
Uh-oh, here it comes, everybody. Here it comes. We're getting a Dallas pick.
I am with Michael on this one. They are the more talented team. It is as hard as it is to pick Dallas in this game. I have to give Dallas to 4-0. But they are the talented team. I agree, and I agree with what you had to say. But the reason I'm taking Dallas is because the week prior, Dallas is going to come off a layup win at Arizona. And look at the 3 games the Patriots had to start the season with: Philadelphia, Miami, and the Jets.
It doesn't get easier. The Patriots have the hardest schedule in the NFL this year. One of the reasons I actually like them in this game is because where are they getting their wins? I think there are going to be a few games that the Patriots kind of steal that you don't expect in such a hard schedule. But it's interesting that the both of you had to bite your tongue while you were speaking because you both take the Dallas Cowboys. I just want to say to our producer who edits this show, clip this off for us because I want to make sure we get the audio of these two guys showing some love to the Dallas Cowboys. You do not get that every day from Washington Commander fans and from Green Bay Packer fans.
Don't say love.
Yeah,
because there is no love when it comes to the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's the wrong word for sure. Yeah, and well, there you go. You get perfect. You got Dallas sitting at a -4.5 right now. By the time this game rolls around, if you think New England's gonna be where they are,
I'm taking the Patriots to cover, brother. Don't worry about that.
This will be a 7-point spread, and you can buy your points up all you want.
I'm going to buy my points and then some. And then when my team... Okay, I shouldn't get too arrogant because once you do that, I'm going to lose that bet. But that said, I will just say to get back to the game really quick, I do like the idea of buying the 1.5 and taking the Patriots +6. Sure, Dallas Cowboys winning, of course I could see that. Them winning by a touchdown... Nah, I think I'll take the Patriots to cover. So there are a couple of games in this week in which you can be on both sides of it. Money line on one team, spread on the other, especially Butt Fumble Sports style with points bought. So I definitely look towards that. By the way, no, I'm not bitter you're going against my team. But that said, we will move on now very quickly to the next game. And that is the last 4:25 game. And that is the Arizona Cardinals against the San Francisco 49ers. Pretty sure we all know where we're coming out on this one. That said, because it's the 49ers, we will bring it up just because, given the quarterback situation, want to make sure we're all seeing it the same way. I have the 49ers because, oxygen is good for breathing, and Kyle Shanahan knows how to beat lesser teams with all the weapons that he has. Michael, we start with you. Are you with the 49ers on this?
Yeah, as good old Vinnie Mac says, there's no chance in hell that Arizona's winning this game. As we brought up in the past about Christian McCaffrey, 6.5 total touchdowns, is that receiving and rushing?
No, it was rushing. 6.5 rushing touchdowns, which I'm kind of curious, would you take the over or the under?
Exactly. Like, that's what I was about to say. If it was combined, I'm easily smashing the over.
Oh, totally.
But yeah, I'm a little cautious when it comes to just rushing. I think it could be sitting at 5, and I think 5 might be a safe bet in my mind.
Where I'm on the other side, I would take the over because I actually think that Kyle Shanahan will want to feed him in the red zone, where other times you might see that more big burly back come in. But I'm also with Michael, which is I'd avoid the rushing touchdowns play, and I would just take total touchdowns. Like, that's the one that actually is probably more advantageous to take as a bettor. So, Adam, kind of curious where you come down on it. Do you like the over or under 6.5?
I actually like the over 6.5, and I'm going to make a point against it, which doesn't sound right, but I think depending on how this quarterback situation is going to play out, you might have teams scheming against that running game and forcing the quarterback to beat you. But I think that San Francisco has enough talent on offense, enough weapons, that the quarterback play will be just good enough that McCaffrey still will be a weapon, and they can use him for those 6.5 rushing touchdowns. So I do like the over there. San Fran is a big number here, minus 9.5, but I'm on board with San Fran in this game as well.
See, I'm all aboard on San Fran, and I don't know about the spread. I actually probably would take San Francisco to cover, especially by this time. Their quarterback situation will be figured out much more. The one thing I would say about the Christian McCaffrey 6.5 total touchdowns that I want to make sure that I allude to is I think there are going to be at least 2 games that he gets 2 touchdowns on the ground. So because of that, I think you're really banking on the fact of, is he healthy enough? How many games does he play? And to me, that's what it's all about. So don't put this bet down now. Wait until the start of the year. I don't think it's going to move between now and then, so it's not like, oh, you could have gotten it at 6.5 and now it's at 7.5 or 5.5. It's not that, but you want to make sure going into the season he's healthy. So that's a player prop bet. Don't jump on too early because Christian McCaffrey could be playing hopscotch somewhere and screw up his legs. I just don't have faith in him to stay healthy the way I do with some other running backs. So just be careful when you place that bet. Do it as close to week 1 of the season as possible. One other question we're getting in from Jorge before we move into the Sunday night game of week 4, and that is, which one are you guys taking first, Christian McCaffrey or Justin Jefferson? I will let Michael go with this one first. Which player are you taking first in fantasy?
I'm going CMC. I always go running backs over receivers in the first round.
Okay. Adam, what are your thoughts?
I'm not much of a fantasy guy, but just because of the health situation, I would take Jefferson because McCaffrey has missed games just about every year. So Jefferson, you can almost count on to be there for a full slate of games.
Really interesting that we kind of have a split decision on this. I'm going to lean slightly towards what Michael is saying, which is I value the running back position more, but here's the only thing. If I'm drafting Christian McCaffrey, I have to draft the other running backs with the 49ers. If I don't, I actually might even trade him to look for other players that I can swap out. I wouldn't want to take him on his own. I'd want to have his running mates alongside on my bench. If I'm not able to do that, Justin Jefferson, I actually have more faith in playing more games. I think Justin Jefferson will probably play 15 games this year. Christian McCaffrey feels like it's going to be closer to 12, 13. That's why I'm a little bit hesitant, but I do think from a value at the position standpoint, running backs are so valuable. Wide receivers can be found all over the place. For that reason alone, you would have to lean towards taking Christian McCaffrey first. I do want to move on to the Sunday night game, and it is an absolute doozy. It is one of the best Sunday night games we could possibly get, and it is the Kansas City Chiefs against the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Sauce Gardner, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, however else that Sunday Night Football will try and advertise it. This is a mega matchup, though. Jets will be coming off of a win against New England, according to us, We have them at 2-1 going into week 4. Meanwhile, we have the Chiefs coming off a win at home against the Bears. We have them 2-1. Importantly, this game is in New York. Adam, we'll start with you. Are you taking Rodgers and the Jets? Or are you taking Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs?
So as it stands right now, KC sits in the -1, and this is where the New York Jets slide starts. The media can tuck their napkins into their shirt and break out their forks and knives and start feasting on their quarterback, because this is where the play declines. Because not only do they have Kansas City this week, they go to Denver, loss, at home against Philly, loss, into the bye week. So this 2-1 start is quickly going to turn into a 2-4 heading into the bye week, and I'm going to sit back and love every minute of Aaron Rodgers being eaten alive by this New York media. So Kansas City in this game.
I hope you guys just got a hint of the Aaron Rodgers disdain in there in that answer. Just a little bit, but he does, Adam, have that New York Jets slide happening. I'm not saying he's wrong, but I'm saying I disagree with the pick. I'll jump in here and say I like the Jets to win this game. And I like the Jets to win this game for 2 reasons. I actually like Aaron Rodgers at home in a primetime game. If you were thinking clearly, Adam, you would know from a lot of your past, decade plus, you've seen Aaron Rodgers deliver in primetime games at home. No, he's not going to change his ability to deliver in big-time moments. He's going to have his Broadway, under-the-lights kind of game. I think he plays well. And more importantly, the difference between the Kansas City defense and the Jets defense will be seen in this game. The Jets will have a top 3 defense this year. The Chiefs will be lucky to have a top 10 defense. So with that said, I like the Jets in this one. Michael, we need you to break and provide some consensus. Break the difference. Who's going to win?
Yeah, to me, this is also a toss-up. I mean, when you look at the teams standing next to each other, defense on the Jets, yes, you could say it's a lot better than the Chiefs. But at the same time, you do look at the Chiefs' offense, you see Valdez Scantling, you see Tony Sky Moore, compared to the Jets wide receivers, who also, in my opinion, have a little leg up on the Chiefs. But at the same time, I'm taking the quarterback play Mahomes over Rodgers.
Wait, so you're saying the defense is better of the Jets, and the wide receivers are better on the Jets, but just because of Patrick Mahomes, you're taking the Chiefs?
And Travis Kelce, because you can't go against that duo, and that duo has proved a lot of people wrong throughout weeks and weeks and years. And the thing is, I also really do like Kansas City offensive line, and I do like the addition of Juwan Taylor that they got from Jacksonville. So I really do like the combination of Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. And I do think Pacheco is going to turn a lot of heads this year, as you could see in later on in the season last year, how he was proving that he wasn't just a 7th-round pick. He can actually be a good running back in the league.
So once again, it looks like I'm the odd man out. I have the Jets winning this game. Our 2 other NFL analysts have the Chiefs winning. I guess we will put the W next to the Chiefs with that asterisk. Guys, I cannot wait for this season because I cannot wait for this game and ultimately to be right. And then I can just say to you guys, hey, told you so back in June that I got this one. But go ahead, Adam.
One more point to you. Yeah, Rodgers has played big in big spotlights. Playoff games, not so much. But he declined last year. And what ultimate football game did you have on a Sunday night at home against the Lions to put yourself in the playoffs? And you couldn't get it done. He's declining. I'm telling you, the Aaron Rodgers is declining. And this is a spotlight where this is where the slide starts. And have a bad football game against Kansas City, and the next, like I said, at Denver and Philadelphia, ain't going to get much easier.
Mark my words, everybody. Mark my words. This is the Max Kellerman, Tom Brady falls off a cliff prediction. I'm not saying it's as dramatic, but no, I don't think Aaron Rodgers turns into fondue in this game against the Chiefs defense that, again, is not as talented. By the way, we've already put on the board, Chiefs are going to win this game. I got outvoted. That's fine. But all I'm saying is Aaron Rodgers, prime time with a better defense, and I'm not taking it. I'm just surprised that you guys are that convinced that Patch. But I also think by the fact that this game is when it is in the season, this isn't December Patrick Mahomes. This is still in a time in the year where, like, okay, a Chiefs loss wouldn't be, like, stunning. If this were in December, I would go, okay, Patrick Mahomes is locking into playoff mode, much like we used to see Tom Brady. But this early in the year, again, better defense, better team on the road. We'll just have to see, gentlemen, because I'm taking the Jets and taking my money with it.
Well, here's one more thing to think about, too. So, a couple days ago, they just came out. Nathaniel Hackett, obviously, was offensive coordinator, quarterback's coach for Rodgers, went to Denver, failed. Now he's with the Jets, right? He's turning this offense over to Rodgers. The Rodgers is going to have full control of this, which I'm not saying he doesn't deserve. But we saw how that played out in Green Bay the last couple of years when he had a coach that basically couldn't do anything, let him run the ship. It crashed and burned. So now you're going to go to New York, and I understand you're running the same system, but don't forget, it's still week 4. You got to get everyone else in that football team up to speed with your playbook. And we know Aaron Rodgers' playbook. He's the smartest guy in the room. And he'll belittle you, and he won't throw the football to you if you don't give him the right answers or what he needs. So this is still early on in his marriage here with the Jets. So just tread lightly with this one here a little bit. I know everyone thinks Aaron Rodgers is going to come there and sling it around for 40 touchdowns, but there's a lot behind the scenes here that I think, there's a lot of layers to this story here. And having Hackett basically coming out and saying they're turning the offense over to him, huge mistake in my opinion. Huge mistake.
Very interested by the fact that you're going the way that you are. So I'm not disagreeing with you. I don't think you're crazy to think that. But I'm just saying I'd rather take Aaron Rodgers in this position. We have another member of the audience that wants to join the conversation. We'll go to him now. That is a Steelers 897. Steelers 897. What are your thoughts on this game or another thing you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, I don't know how related this is, but I hear a lot of people talking about the Lions winning 12 games, and I don't know if you can win 12 games with Jared Goff as your quarterback. I would love to hear what you guys think.
Personally, I feel like that's too high. I'm with you. I think 12 wins. Yeah, this isn't Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. No, Jared Goff is going to have his bad moments. Additionally, because I think the NFC is a little bit better than people think. A lot of people are talking about the AFC quarterbacks, but I just don't think 12 wins is as easy as we make it out to be in today's NFL. So yes, I think the Lions still have some growing pains. I can see them getting to 11. 12 seems a little bit high. Michael, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, I don't think they're going to get 12 wins. I do like what Vegas has them in at 9. I can see them getting 10. I like their offense. Their defense is what the issue is what everyone knows. They got to revamp defense, but they got to prove themselves. And if they're going to score the ball, they also have to stop the opposing team from scoring. So we shall see. But I am high on the Lions, but I don't see them at 12.
Yeah, right. Adam, what are your thoughts on the question?
Yeah, Michael took the words out of my mouth. In fact, I just looked at what I had them from our picks, and I have them going 10-7 for the year.
Bingo.
So Michael pretty much hit every nail on the head for me.
Let's give out our final pick of the night for Week 4, and that is the Seattle Seahawks. They travel to New York to play the New York Football Giants. We have the Giants 2-1 coming off a loss against the 49ers. On the other side, we have the Seahawks 2-1. And as our resident Seahawks fan, MVP Metcalf, says, he doesn't like that loss to the Detroit Lions, thinks they actually are 3-0 in this one. I just love the Seahawks in this game. The only problem I might have is the Monday night game, traveling across the country, not enough to scare me away from taking Seattle. Adam, are you riding with the Seahawks in this game?
I am, but don't forget, too, if I'm not mistaken, the Giants are at San Fran that weekend as well.
Oh, right, so they have to make the turnaround as well. Yeah.
Yep. So to that point alone, I think the Giants are going to be a decent football team. Like I said, Brian Dable's doing a nice job there this year, but Seattle's the team I'm super high on this year, as I think a few of us are. And I think this is a game where they come off the week before and what should be a pretty easy win against Carolina and then travel to the Giants. So I'm with you. I like Seattle in this one, and the Giants actually right now are shown as a 1-point favorite.
The one note that I'll say before we bring up Michael's take on this game is I am slightly concerned, not because I don't like Seattle, but if I just look at the Giants' schedule and I say, okay, this is a good Giants team, and I don't think they're going to be absolute dog poop on your porch, what are they going to turn into? Well, we have them 1-2 in this game. If they lose this one, they then have back-to-back weeks at Miami and at Buffalo. So according to us, we could potentially have them 1-5 going to a Week 6 game against Washington. That feels like a bit too bad for what our expectations are. It doesn't make sense. I don't think that will happen. So this could be the win that helps get them to that 2-4 mark. That makes a little bit more sense. Michael, do you get what I'm picking up, or are you building the consensus around the Seahawks win?
I was 100% going to say what you were talking about, as it's tough to go against the Giants when you see the upcoming schedule, the Dolphins and Bills. But at the same time, I was going to go with the Giants just because of Brian Daboll. I really do like him as a coach, but I'll also be very giddy if they start off 1-4 or like that. So I'm not complaining whatsoever if the Giants aren't going to be 2-2. But the thing is that Seattle's offense is fantastic. It's both quarterback situations. I'm having a hard time thinking just because it's like you have Daniel Jones, you have Geno Smith, but at the same time, I really do like Brian Daboll as a coach, and I think he's going to be ultimately the deciding factor.
I'm going to swing my pick. I'm doing this last pick, last opportunity to change my mind, and yeah, I'm calling the flip flop on myself. I'm going to take the Giants. Like I cannot see them going through the season with that, and I'm kind of with you. It's a Monday night game in New York. Geno Smith back in New York, back in the Meadowlands. I could see him dogging it. I'm going to take the Giants. I'm going to flip on this one. It's not necessarily what I wanted to do, but I'm going to flip.
And also, I mean, Giants are getting extra rest. They were playing a Thursday night game against San Francisco. I get it is San Francisco, but it is a Thursday night game.
Gabriel, what are your thoughts?
Daniel Jones is overrated. That's my hot take.
By the way, I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's like a room temperature take, which is it's one that probably we all have. Again, this is one in which we're kind of just feeling out in the dark on this one because week 4 into the season. I am going to give the New York Football Giants the win. We do have enough consensus here with Michael and myself on this one. MVP Metcalf. I know a loyal follower on TikTok Live. Bro, you're tripping. I know we are. I know we just talked ourselves right out of taking the Seahawks. But we're just doing that to instigate you. We're just doing that to gaslight you, MVP Metcalf. That's why we just did that. Anyways, having a lot of fun talking NFL with you guys. We are live every Tuesday at 7 o'clock on TikTok Live, YouTube, Twitch, and Kick, and Twitter Spaces. We talk NFL every single week at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Tuesdays. The same group. Want to give a big shout out to Adam. You can find him at @SpotterAJ on Twitter. Does a great job for us every week. Thank you, Adam. Want to give a big shout out to Michael Dobbin. That's at MikeDobbs94 on Twitter. You can find him there. As he would say in his profile, unfortunately a fan of the Commanders. He is hilarious. You want to check him out. Adam does a great job, like I mentioned, across all of our platforms. Yo, appreciate you, Steelers fan 897, joining us. Hope you join us again soon. Gabriel, same to you, a Houston Texans fan. Hope you guys join us. If you guys ever want to get more a part of the show, more a part of the Butt Fumble Sports community, reach out to us, DM us. We're always looking for people who want to join our conversations around sports, the NFL, fantasy football, sports gambling, and everything else. Additionally, you can find us at buttfumblesports.com. That's our website, buttfumblesports.com. And of course, check out our daily live show. We have a live betting show every single day. It is live tomorrow, Wednesday, June 28th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Every single day we talk sports, sports betting, fantasy sports. Butt Fumble Sports is the place for every sports fan every single day. Appreciate all of you guys joining us tonight. Hope you have a wonderful evening. And remember, join us again next Tuesday when we talk the NFL.